It's the final weekend before the election, and it means that that's a final push for votes, and it was a busy day for both campaigns. As President Trump and former VP Biden campaign in the Midwest, the vice presidential candidates are focusing on border states. Fox's Katie Byrne joins us live from the Texas-Mexico border, where Senator Kamala Harris spoke earlier today. We were just watching that here on News Now from Fox. Katie, how's it going out there?
Hey, Daytona. Well, like you said, it really was one of the busiest days yet for both campaigns. And when we asked Senator Kamala Harris what brought her here, why the sudden push for Texas, she said every state matters. She's making 3 stops in the state today: Fort Worth, Houston, and here in McAllen. And this as Vice President Mike Pence targets Arizona, making 2 stops there. With less than a week, campaigns are covering a lot of ground. President Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden are targeting the Midwest, while Senator Kamala Harris and VP Mike Pence stay south.
President Donald Trump created the greatest economy in American history, and we're doing it again.
You are going to make the difference. This election is about you.
Pence making 2 stops in Arizona and Harris making 3 in Texas, both talking about the pandemic.
In the midst of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. And he's got his own version of the Green New Deal with a price tag of $2 trillion, and that's just a down payment.
He called it a hoax. He suggested that on his ledger of who people are, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't.
Friday is the last day to vote early in Arizona and Texas. Trump won both states in 2016. But the Real Clear Politics average of recent polls shows Biden leading Trump in Texas, a state that hasn't gone blue since 1976. And Daytona, I heard you mention this earlier, but I think it's worth talking about again that Texas has already cast more ballots in this presidential election than they did all of 2016. So already more than 9 million ballots have been cast as of this morning.
Katie, I do want to ask you, why McAllen? Because this is kind of a smaller spot. I know that obviously Harris has been across the entire state today, but was there a lot of turnout out there, or what did it look like?
Well, yeah, like you said, when Senator Harris landed here in McAllen, we were here at the airport, and that was one of the first questions we asked her. We said, why South Texas? And she talked about how she thinks they want to earn every vote and make a difference in each state that they visit. As far as turnout, though, the event was held at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley campus. There were about 200 cars that were invited to the event, but I would say hundreds more of protesters and supporters of Biden and Harris gathered outside the perimeter of the event to watch it and honk their horns from afar.
Now, Katie, last question. We know that gas and oil has been a big talker over the past couple of weeks, ever since the debate. We know that industry leaders were talking about that today in Houston. Was there any talk of that? Because it was in Harris County where Kamala Harris was just speaking. So did she make any remarks about that?
Well, Senator Harris usually does always make a point to talk about climate change, and she talks about how the Biden-Harris ticket will listen to scientists, and they want to move towards clean energy, all clean energy, by 2035.
All right, Katie Byrne out there with obviously the Fox campaign. We're following everything. Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right, again, you're watching News Now from Fox. We have talked to 3 reporters in the past hour or so, covering everything, the